And in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to make 250k or 250,000 in equity when buying a property. I'm going to share all of that with you. By the end of this video, you are going to be amazed. But remember, this is live. So you can be able actually to engage with me. So greetings to you. In the next round about 30 minutes or so, we're going to smash this. And this is a learning. It is a learning exercise tonight, right? I'm here so that you can get to learn a little bit more, right? We're always dropping in some other videos and things like that, where it's giving you a little bit of learning. But this one here that we're going to be talking about, it's how you can make 250,000 in equity when you are buying a property. So it's all about property. My name is TJ, Taurai Jack, as you can see right there. Where there? Yeah, it is there. Right. Good. I'm going to jump straight into it. So wherever you are watching me from, good evening to you, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time is by you. Greetings to you. So let's jump into it. I want to give you some hard, good information by the end of this session. Yep, by the end of this session, my goal is that you can be able to go and assess any other property that you'll be able to see out there, and you can get some equity out of it. And when you get the equity out of it, I'm hoping that it's going to be more than 250. But if you have to get like 250 and above, that's great. But if you get less, that's okay too, for as long as you are getting some equity as and when you are buying. So yeah, welcome to how to make 250 in equity when you're buying. I've got a little bit of a presentation that I'm going to walk you through it. And if this information is getting you a little bit complicated as we go along, you have a comment section. So in the comment section there, you can ask a question as I go along, and I will see the question and I will come back, and then we can dive into it as I go along. But let's jump into the presentation. It is I, TJ, and we are always talking here about how you can build and earn and preserve what you have built. But above that, it's all about making sure that you're making money today, making sure that you're also building a strong business for tomorrow. So for some of you, this is your first time being here. Welcome aboard, guys. If you know someone else who is wanting to build, you should have invited them today. Or just send them a link and say, check what this cat is talking about, right? Or check what this bra is talking about. And we can all learn together. My goal is that this kind of information becomes available to all of us, and we can learn, we can go and do it, we can improve our lives, we can improve the situations of our families, and that's what it's all about. I'm going to jump into it. So welcome. Right, so we are going to be talking about, yes, number one, I want us to get into talk about building equity. So not everyone understands building equity. I will explain what equity is all about. That's the first thing. So by the end of this session, I want you to know what is building equity. Then the second thing is that I would like you to understand how to build passive out of this equity, how you can build some passive income. And above that, how you can then be able to build a meaningful legacy using assets. So an equity is an asset as well. Thank you very much for some of you who have been buying my book. I've really appreciated all my books. I've got 3 of them now that are out there. So thank you very much for you doing that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have never subscribed, so where you are right now, right? On the corner there, you see that there's a red thingy, an icon that says subscribe. And if this is your game, you like seeing that kind of stuff, subscribe. Why do you need to subscribe? Number one, I'll know you are here. Number two, you give me a little bit of oomph to come and do what I do, right? And then number three, whenever we go live at a particular time like this, you will have the opportunity to know you, so you get a notification So it is good to subscribe. But let's jump into it as we go along. Right. Okay. We are talking, remember, we are talking all about how to make 250,000 in equity when buying a property. That's what we're going to jump into today and talk about. So, what is equity? Right? What is equity? Well, equity is the difference between how much your property, so we're assuming you got a property here. I'm going to start off from that angle. What is the difference between how much your property is worth and how much you actually owe, be it is a bond or a mortgage, right? I'm going to give you a small example here. And this example basically stipulates to say, if your property value is 570,000, that's the value of your property, and you put in deposit of, let's say, 10% of that, it basically means that that 57,000, right, 10%, it's actually also part of equity. But I don't want to confuse things. I'm going to say, so the property value, right, there you've got the deposit, there you've got the loan value, right? So if you had to add the two up, right, your property value, and then you subtract the amount of money that you're owing at the bank, then your equity is what you are going to see as the difference there. So basically now you're sitting at 250 with the example here that I've pulled up. Does it make sense? So that is equity. Now I'm going to dive in here. So some of you, we might be meeting here for the first time, and this is your first time being here. Welcome. And I want to stress the fact that I didn't just start off doing what I'm doing today, which is buying businesses, buying real estate in different areas and smashing it. I started off with the dream of going into the big city, right? I'm going to tell you a short story about me. I started talking about at a young age. Many of us comes from smaller neighborhoods or smaller cities, and that's the dream that I had. I was like, I want to go to the big city and I want to make it work. So yes, I did. I came to the big city, city of Joburg. That's where I came through to. City of Gold, they call it. And with that, I started off just like anyone else. I got a job. It wasn't a wonderful job at the time. I rose through the banks, learning the ropes. And literally, those are all the companies that I worked for. But I think the number one thing that I pay tribute to all the successes that I've had, was the fact that I was able to leave home. Because being at home, I see it with a lot of my mates. They are comfortable. I remember when I came through to Johannesburg, there was very little relatives. I had to do everything. I had to become the backup of me. I had to put food on my table for me. Later on, I got married. It even became worse. So leaving your comfortable place, going into another place, it guarantees you success, my good friends. So that's me starting off at a humble space, learning the ropes, going all the way into the corporate space after I left home. And by the time I left my employment, I was looking after 10 countries from a banking perspective. And then I realized that if I can do this for the bank, why can I not do it for myself? So maybe that's a challenge for you, my friend. If you're doing big things in your employment, right, and you are the chief guy and you are the what guy, why are you not doing it for yourself? It's just a question that I'm asking. And by the way, I'm not saying that you should do that so that you can leave your employment. No, I'm saying do it for yourself. Build your own thing. Build your own empire, right? Own your own economy. That's all I'm saying, right? Be in control of your income. I think I realized that after I got retrenched the first time round, and I got retrenched the second time round, and then on the third time round, I was prepared. They actually, I resigned on a Thursday. The following Monday, they retrenched around about 350 people. At that time, I was prepared. Yeah. Ah, TJ, you were lucky. No, I wasn't. I was prepared. Being prepared, favor. What do they say? Favor, lucky favors the prepared ones, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is. But today it's not about me. I am here to talk about this thing here that we're talking about, how to make 250k in equity when you are buying a property. I went on to do a couple of businesses. Went into bad debt, around about 5 million. Yeah, someone asked me the other day, TJ, how did you get into debt of 5 million? It's very easy. I went into a bad deal. So I went into something that I didn't understand. I started doing chickens, rearing chickens, and I got a hit with the flu the first time round, right? I went to borrow some more money at the bank, and again I was hit with the flu. I went to borrow again, boom, couldn't get up again. But whilst I was doing that, I started learning, and then bingo, I got into some success, a little bit of success. And that little bit of success, I started now realizing that I actually need to also carry some other people. So I started writing books. I've got 3 books now that I have written. For some of you, thank you very much for reading some of my books. It's called, the first book that I wrote is called From Bad Dad to Property Mogul. And then the second one that I wrote is Be the First Millionaire in Your Family. It's a passionate book for me when I wrote that book, because I realized that a lot of us, we are looking elsewhere to be millionaires, many things, but you can be. And yeah, you can get the book and you can start writing. The other one is called Top 10 Property Strategies That Work in Africa. Yep, right. Okay, I'm going to jump in as we go along. I think this is my favorite job. My favorite job is just being a father and a husband. That's my favorite job. So everything else that you see me doing, I think it's all about just trying to put food on the table. That's it. And all the business that I do, they are just vehicles for me to do what I do. So tonight we are going to be talking about, or today we are going to be talking about specifically how you can actually make 250 in equity. And by the way, like I did say, if you haven't subscribed, please do that, and so that we can know who you are and we can also be engaging as we go along. Yeah. Right, so let's jump into the conversation. I did say in the beginning that what is equity? It is the difference of how much you owe the bank and the value of your property. That difference there is basically what is the equity, right? So the difference between the two, it is what is referred to as equity. Now, once you have this equity, what is it, right? When you have equity, what is it? Well, it's ownership, my friends, right? It is ownership. The difference between how much you are owing at the bank and the value that your property is worth, that, my friend, is what you own. So the equity that we're giving an example here is, let's say, 250,000. If the difference between the two is 250,000, it basically means that you, yes, you are 250,000 rich. But unfortunately, this 250,000 is actually not in your bank account, right? Everyone else, yeah, does have what is called a balance sheet, right? You can have a balance sheet, everyone. Whether you do this in a company or whether you're doing this in your personal circumstance, you will have assets and liabilities. This equity that we are talking about here becomes part of your balance sheet and you become 250,000 richer than before. Banks like people that are richer in equity, that are richer in assets. So this year that we are talking about, the 250, it is actually an asset, right? So you will subtract on one side of the liabilities and on the one side of the asset. Now you're 250,000 richer. Right. Does it make sense? If it makes sense, let me know in the comments there. As we go along, I want us to actually jump in. I've had so many conversations with multiple people, and they say to me, TJ, so how do I know the value of my property? How do I know the value of my property? I'm gonna give you examples here, ladies and gentlemen. If you own a property and this property is a residential property, there's two ways in which you can get your evaluation on that property. How do you know it's a residential property that you're staying in? Because you are staying in it. That's number one. Or on your municipality bill, when it comes through, it gives you an indication that it is a residential, right? The first way you can get that is that you can actually reach out to an estate agent. So reach out to an estate agent and say to them, I am thinking of selling my property. What is the value of my property? They'll come in and evaluate it. I've seen so many boards around from people like Remax, these are estate agents, Roson, and so on. They will offer free evaluation to you. Once they have done that, they will give you an evaluation. So normally on the same street, generally all the properties are of the same value, not unless there is a little bit of a difference here and there. But normally the prices are the same. I'm talking about residential. How can you get the value of your property? Because we're talking here about how to make 250,000 in equity when you're buying a property, right? For some of you, you are wanting, and I need to pause here. Some of you are going through this whole thing of I want to go and look for 250,000 when you actually have more than that on you today. This is why I am going through this whole process so that you can start to understand how you can unlock it, the process thereof, and then thereafter, when you are going out there to buy, you have a clear idea of how to do it. But actually start with what you have, because what you have, you may actually be having this whole equity that we are talking about. So I'm going to go back again. How do you evaluate your property? So the first thing is that if it's a residential, and I'm re-emphasizing this because there's different types or ways in which you can evaluate a property based on what is used for. So we said if it is residential, it is an estate agent is the best person to let you know. So they'll give you that report, they'll give you an indication, they'll give you the reasons why your property is worth X amount of money. You can also pull a report. So there's many companies of late that can actually give you a report without you engaging an estate agent, but you are going to pay for that service. So it's not a free service. I haven't seen a company that is now offering that free service. So companies like TPN, companies like Lightstone, by the way, none of them of these companies are paying this brother to talk about their business. I actually pay them to get the reports. So don't look at it as TJ's it's advertising. I'm not. None of these guys. I've just done business with them in the past, yeah, and I continue doing business with them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm advertising for them. I am for them because of the tools that they give me. So like you can as well use the same tools. Now, you can pull a report. Maybe if you have never used these tools before, start by pulling your own properties report, right? And then thereafter, you can understand. You can also get on your municipality bill, when it comes through. Shout out to my people in Matuba. I did put there Matuba municipality. When I was coming through to that section, I was like, how do I represent a municipality on this here? And I remembered, I got folks in Matuba, yeah, Matuba squared or Matuba twice, yeah. So I then said, okay, great. If you get a bill from the municipality, in this case, if you are staying in Matuba, your municipality, Matuba, will send you a bill. When they send you a bill, they also put in a valuation. Now, city of Johannesburg, they are in a turmoil of sort where the city of Johannesburg have actually increased the valuation of the property, And some people are saying this is too much because now rates and taxes are needing to be, they will need to increase. So remember, we're talking about how do you actually see the value of your property? The value that is put on your municipality is generally lower than the market itself. However, if you're staying in the city of Johannesburg, as you're going through this exercise, just make sure that whatever the estate agent is going to give you, which could be a very true reflection of your value, and the municipality one is the same, right? So that you know how you can actually be able to do that. So I don't know where you're watching me from, but let me know where you're watching me from in below before we go on to talk about commercial evaluation. Commercial evaluation. Right. So commercial evaluation is a little bit different. It's not as straightforward as the residential. So what is a commercial property? A commercial property is the land use of your property has been changed. You may not know that it has been changed because maybe you bought it and you didn't know. Normally, your municipality bill or your rates and taxes are higher than normal. That's the first sign for you to see whether your bill is, whether your property is a higher value, right? Whether your property is a commercial. However, the true definition of a commercial property is that it's not residential. So think of it that way. It's not residential. It is anything other than residence. So there are no people that are staying in there. So there's business activities. That's number one. The second one is that you also have people, but lots of them. So now I'm talking about a block of flats. I'm talking about multi-lets, these big buildings. It can be a complex, right? Or it can be a small estate. That's now on the commercial side. If it is owned by one person, does it make sense? So if a complex is owned individually, then it becomes, residential because you are staying in it. But if the entire thing is owned by one person, the way they evaluate, you do not go to an estate agent and say, hey, please evaluate my property. But there are specialized estate agents that can evaluate commercial properties. So which means that when you go to an estate agent, you ask them, I've got a commercial property and can you evaluate my property? And then you will give them all of the details and then they'll be able to say yes or no. Those that specialize in residential, they will only be able to look at it from a residential. Those that look into commercial, then they'll do that. The best person to actually ask here, ladies and gentlemen, is an evaluator. You get a professional that is called a property evaluator. What is a property evaluator? It's a guy who is qualified to actually assess the extent of your property. So they'll take in all of your income, your profit and loss, and then they'll consider the replacement value of your property and things like that. They'll give you a nice thick report, round about, I think the minimum that I've ever seen is round about 15 pages on a evaluation of a property. Remember, we're talking about evaluating a property in the hope that we can be able to make 250,000 in equity when we are buying it. So if we are buying something that we do not know how to evaluate, that's why I'm starting off at evaluation. Understand how to evaluate, then thereafter we can be able to buy these things. Okay, good. So as we go along, now, like I mentioned, a lot of us, we are looking there for equity. But maybe let's look internally. So you got a property today, right, that you have. What I'd like us to do is, now that we understand how to evaluate the property, so we can actually now go to an estate agent and we can say, Mr. Estate Agent, please evaluate my property or my properties if you have more of them. Put them together, right? Or you can pull a report on your own. So now that you have this value, then you go to your favorite bank, whoever that your properties are bonded with. Now get your statements. whether you're going to get this online or whatever the case, it doesn't really matter. But get your statements. Understand how much is outstanding. Subtract the two, and bingo, now you have your equity. Hoping that this equity is going to be more than 250,000. I have just given you a lesson in which you can be able to evaluate your own property and assess to see how much equity that you can get. Right. But we are not here to learn that. That was step number one. Because sometimes we want to look out there for some things, and when we have resources, I want to teach you on how best you can be able to make 250 at a minimum in equity when buying a property. That's the whole game for tonight. And by the way, it's been a while. There's so many people that I teach on these things, and if you guys are interested in some of those things, you can jump in and you can start to learn these things, right? You can start to learn these things for yourself, right? Okay, good. So how to make 250,000? My 250,000 tonight, it is not a figure that I'm saying you have to go and make 250,000. No. It is an amount that I would like you guys to think of to say you can make equity when you are buying. You can make equity when you're buying. The value now depends on obviously the actual property that you're going to be buying, and you could be making more than 250,000, or you could be making less. So let's jump into it. The first one is that I want to give you guys an example of a deal. This deal here is something that it's a two-bed, one-bath that was in an old neighborhood. I really like old neighborhoods because I think that's where the value is. That's where you can unlock a little bit of equity, or a lot of it actually. So this deal here, it's in an old suburb, and within this old suburb, it's a two-bed, one-bath. It's got an open plan with a kitchen and so on. And over and above that, the property was being tenanted. I got this property roundabout when I think it was about 4 weeks ago, if not 3. This property that I'm talking about, this is a live deal, by the way, right? And I did share it with a few people, and I said, "Hey guys, I got a deal here for 340,000, and there's a tenant that is in the property for 5,500. Who's keen in it, right? Because I don't like buying units; it's just my thing. But this deal could have been a very good deal because now, if you are buying at 340, you can do the maths by yourselves there. I'm hoping that whenever you're watching me live, you've got a pen and a notebook and you're writing notes. It just helps in retaining your information. But you can always come back and replay as well. So that's another thing. So here's the thing. This is at 340. You got a 5.5 rent that you're pushing in here. This tenant is already existing. Like I did say, this is a real life deal that I got round about a month ago. And then I said to some guys, this is actually a cool deal. Who's in? And then I got some people. TJ, this is not a good deal, TJ. Nah. So I'm like, really? 340,000. And you are banking every month 5,500. Not a good deal? Show me a good deal that you're doing. Well, I then said to those that are keen, guys, whoever who's keen, I've got this. Let's push it out. Whoever who's interested in it. What they didn't see on this deal, which is what I'm going to show you now. And when I got this deal, it came from a sourcing agent. So a sourcing agent is someone who goes out there to look for properties for other people, look for opportunities, actually. And this guy came through with the deal to me and said, TJ, give me 340. I'm in. My client is happy, and we'll close the deal. So I did get a lot of, TJ, this is not a good deal. I got that. But then I said, okay, let's continue with the deal. I looked into the area. So the font is a little bit smaller here. I apologize, but that's the best that I could do. in the area, whenever you're pulling a report for a particular property, it's going to give you what is called, this is specifically when it's a residential, right? Specifically when it's residential. It will indicate to you properties that have sold in the last year, in the last 2 years, or in the last 3 years. And it will pull all of them. Like in this case here, I looked in the area for this particular property for the comparables, comparing the other properties. And literally there was around about 20 properties that was pulled that then sold within the last plus minus 2 years. So I looked into this report closely and I saw that there were properties that sold for 600. There were properties that sold for 300. There were properties that sold for 590. So all of these put together, it then give me an indication to say, this is a good deal that is selling for this price. Then it also give me an indication of the value of the property in question. Then I went on to say, okay, great. Let's dive into the actual deal. So the actual deal now that we're talking about here is, the report then said to me, the expected value on this property is 500,000. So I'm like, this is what the report is saying to me. Right? That's the expected value, 500,000. But what's making the others 590? I asked myself the question. So I looked on the report and I went to see the properties that had been selling for 590. This is an old neighborhood. And I realized that those properties that had been selling for 590, 600, they were actually modernized. What do I mean? They changed the kitchen, they painted them recently, they changed the doors, and they put in like up-to-date finishings. That's why they sold for that property. So I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe if I'm to buy this thing at 340, so which means I can push the value to 590 here. Okay, cool. And then I also saw that the expected low of the evaluation is 450. Right. So I looked at this and I'm like, okay, 590 is my high, 450 is my low. The sourcing agent is bringing this thing at 350. I'm smelling equity in this thing. I'm like, there's like equity in this thing, bruh, right? But here's the thing. If you actually don't know what equity is all about, you can't smell it. Yeah, you can't. And that's where a lot of people are. That's why the other bras, they're like, TJ, this is not a good deal. TJ, 340, no, it's for a 2-bed, no, it's not a good deal. They didn't see what I was seeing. They didn't see this here that I'm doing here, or that I'm showing you to do. It's called desktop due diligence, triple D. Okay, not that triple D. Don't be naughty. Okay, not that triple D. Here, I'm talking about desktop due diligence. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now, if you are to do this whilst you're sitting on your desk, before you even go and see that property, guys, you're already seeing that there's money in this deal before you even go to the property, right? So I saw that, and then I realized, let me do the maths here. If I'm to make this property, if I'm to buy it now, I'm going to buy it on 340. My closing fees is around about 10K. I took in my builder there and I realized I can actually reno this thing for around about just below 40,000, and like a good investor, right? So I actually put in what I call contingents. So I can renovate for 40, but I am leaving another 10 grand just in case. So that if I get into this deal here and I'm starting to renovate, there's something that I don't know, I've got enough money to cover everything. So that's contingents. When you're doing projects, you always want to have some form of contingents. So I'm all in now for 340 plus 10 plus 50. And now I've modernized this property, yeah, to 590. Some of you didn't get that. I'm going to let it sink. And look, if this is getting complicated and you're not getting this, that's okay. You know, I remember back in the days when I was employed and I was starting off, even when this business thing, and I was starting off this property thing, and it was getting complicated. Like there was so many terminologies that I couldn't get through. I get it. Not all of us are born like that. Not all of us knows these things. You gotta learn. And that's why we are learning. So high five to you for being here. But here that I'm teaching you today is just the tip of the iceberg. There is more to learn. If you are dedicated in learning, the first thing that you need to do is actually just to subscribe so that you learn more. When I go live like this, you know, and you learn more. That's it. Full stop. For free. You don't need to do anything. Learn, 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 learn. Each time I go live, you learn. Have a notebook. You start writing all of this stuff down. Okay? And then go out there, start practicing this stuff. That's all. Then all of it, obviously, you start getting better. Now, as I go along with this, so now if the property, remember we said the property, we're buying it for 340, right? And the reason why I'm doing small numbers here, like I'm doing other deals that got bigger numbers, but I want everybody to understand and don't get intimidated with the millions. This is not a million-rand deal. This is like a small deal, right? So we say that the value of the property was around about 340. That's it's not the value, it's what someone else is selling it for. Why they are selling it for that amount, I don't care, right? Number two, I am seeing value. 3, can I validate the value? Yes, I've done some reports. I've checked. Now it's for me to go and see it. I went to see it. I took my builder there. I'm comfortable. Am I happy with the area? Yes, I am. Okay, good. Can I put my money there? Yes. Is the bank financing that area? Yes. Okay, good. I'm all in. If you're all in now, then we say 340 plus the 50,000, the reno. Do I have the 50,000? Yes. Okay, good. So I'm going to reno it. Do I know of a builder? Yes, I do. 10K to close off the deal. Okay, great. Legal fees and all of those things. Okay, cool. So I'm all in now on this property at roundabout now, just, I can safely say we are now all in. Let me show you the numbers, right? I want to show you the numbers so that you can see lekker, right? So you're all in at 340, right? That was your buying price. And 10K, so that's 350. And then an additional now 50K. So now the value of this property now is sitting on 590. If we subtract that, you're now sitting at an equity after renovation of 190, right? Now I might be confusing you a little bit there, but I want you to walk with me. When you saw the property, it was just at 340. So we said 590, that is the price that we know that this is the true value of this property, but we know that it's not evaluated, it's not cleaned up. It doesn't have the nicer finishings and so on of a 590. So great, we're going to buy it at 340. 340 minus 590, we're going to get 250. That's my equity that I'm buying right now. But I am going to start to chip away from that equity so that I can bring the same unit to its former glory or to its glory so that it can now be valued at 590. And the difference now there is on 190. That's what I'm getting through today. So having said that, so now you've got this 190,000 equity, right? Now that you are on the 190k equity. So what can you do with this, right? What can you do with it? I think I want to pause here. So I just want to pause here for a little bit. Guys, when you do these deals and you see the value in a property, I've just shown you how to do it. And now you see the opportunity and you dive in and you do it. If one property is giving you equity of 190,000, let's just round it off to 200,000 for ease of mathematics. You know, not all of us are sharp with maths here. And on this 200,000, if you are just to do 5 of those deals in the next 5 years, you become the first millionaire in your family. Simple. 5 of them. You're on $1 million in equity. 1 deal a year. Just 1. This is not complicated. The sums is, you can do it slowly. But I guarantee you, the moment you get to deal number 3, you're going to start seeing other deals that are in the millions, and then you're going to get into the millions. Yeah, do that if you want to. That's what happened to me. My first deal was exactly like this. A 2-bed, 1-bath. I bought it for 160,000. We renovated it for around about 50,000. Yeah, so I was all in for 210. Eventually sold it for around about 490, if I'm not mistaken. But I went on to do many other deals. Kept on doing deals. So as I go along, I did say that I want to do this in 30 minutes. So let me get on with the program. What can you now do with the equity? This is gold, guys. I almost call this free money some days. I almost call it free money. But obviously, you're working, identifying opportunities, becoming clever. You can leverage off this equity. If you are building this in a company, your balance sheet within this company of the with the equity that you have of your properties, it's growing. The banks loves you. You can now utilize this equity as collateral, and you can now start to have it as cash. And when you've got cash, right, you can go and buy some more properties cash. Maybe you are in trouble. Maybe you've got some bad debts that you had before. Convert your equity into cash, pay off whatever that was there before. A lot of people sell. They buy this property and then they'll sell and then they'll make 190 profit. I don't like doing that. I like owning the property so that I can utilize this equity on my balance sheet and the property can still give me cash flow. Cash flow. We'll talk about that cash flow as well because I think it's a mystery for many people, right? So you can get more credit as you go along, right? So that's the opportunity that you have with equity. That's the opportunity that you have in sporting deals. That's the opportunity that you have in understanding how to create a good deal, identifying, work it, stake it, and then close it, and then extract this equity. So if this is you and you kind of like, TJ, this is a lot of stuff. I didn't get it, or I got it, I want some more. And you want him to learn a little bit more, I'm available. I'm happy to teach you. I'm happy to be your coach. There is a link on the right on the in the comments. It's right on the top of the comments. You can hit that link. It will take you to a little page like this one that says welcome to the TJ tribe. And on there, you can click on where it says, TJ, be my business coach and mentor. Add in your details. I'll ring you, or one of my team members from our office will ring you, and we will understand where you are in your business. Maybe you haven't started. Maybe you're wanting to start. Maybe the stuff is getting complicated. Maybe you want to grow more of it. I'm available. I will help you to get it through. And once you start doing that, you start growing. There's quite a lot of people that are on this channel here that is called on this channel. And I've got a playlist that is called TJ Hall of Fame. And those are some of the people that have been coming through, learning, grinding, and I've done some video with some of those guys. They're smashing it. And if you're wanting to smash it like that as well, you are most welcome. I'm available. I will help you in the game, and we can go through this thing, right? So like I did say right at the beginning, my goal tonight was to help you to build some passive income, because with that equity that I spoke about, you can go and buy other properties. And I did say that I'm going to help you to build a meaningful legacy using assets. Now you can build using your equity. But that equity alone, if you just leave it, you can dig in and dig in and dig in and leave that whilst you're working. Someone else is paying off your debt, and that equity grows. And whilst it's growing, you can live on that property or grow the number of properties that you have. And my friends, for those of you that are really dedicated, you can start learning. I didn't know this stuff like a couple of years ago. I didn't. But I started learning. I started going to classes. I got a coach. Right? So I'm here. I'm available to come and help you. All you need to do is to reach out. Once you reach out, we'll be able to reach out to you. So today was all about teaching you how to get this kind of stuff, how to get into a deal like this one. One of my students recently, he negotiated a deal. By the way, it's not just about negotiating. You gotta have the skill. And this is a property that he's been checking out for the last 3 months, the 6 months, sorry. Literally, the asking price on that property was sitting on 2.8 million. That was the asking price. And he recently then same deal on 1.9 million. So he got himself some equity, plus or minus a million. Yeah, plus or minus a million. Yes. How did he get it right? He's learning. Number one. Number two, he's here. When I have classes, he's there. When I'm coaching him, right? He's one of my clients. He's not doing this because he is with me. No. He's getting this right because he is with like-minded people that are doing it. He is not doing this because I am the greater one between the two of us. No. It is because he is coming with a heart to want to do this, wanting to learn, and I'm the teacher. So now this is becoming like a sword and a sword, iron versus iron. We're helping each other out, and magic starts happening. And that's the magic. It's getting good deals. So ladies and gentlemen, if that's you and you're wanting to kill it as well, I'm available. Let me know in the comments. And reach out to our office with the link that I've shared there, and then we will help you on how to make this work for you, for your family, for you to build your own legacy, for you to build your own passive income, whatever it is. My job is to help you to build your own business. It is I, TJ. It's been great hanging out with you tonight. And I'll catch you on the other videos. Or I will see you at the mastermind for some of you who are coming through to the mastermind. But it's been great hanging out with you. By the way, do not forget to pass on this information to others that are also wanting to learn and build their own legacies. I never held on to the information. That's why you are here. I'm passing it on to you. So do the same. I'll check you out in the next video. It is I, TJ.